and welcome to Connect. I'm your host, Randy Shabilo. On today's show, we'll have Riel Castro-Zunti and David Finday. As always, we want to connect with you.
Tweet us at ShawTV Saskatoon. Find us on Facebook or email shawtvconnect@shaw.ca. You can also watch previous interviews on ShawTV's YouTube channel at youtube.com/ShawTV Saskatoon.
Saskatoon's technology industry is a very quiet industry, but very powerful in the sense that we're making some inroads on the global stage. With me today is third-year computer engineering student, Riel Castro-Zunti. And Riel, thank you for making time for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Randy.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and the interest that you've had with computer engineering.
Yes. Well, I just finished third year of computer engineering at the University of Saskatchewan. I'll be entering fourth year into the fall. I enjoy computer engineering, which involves me having to do with software primarily, and interfacing software with hardware, and interfacing microcontrollers, making LEDs blink and those kind of fancy things, working with FPGAs, which basically means I can do really complex math on hardware. And I've been basically working with computers on and off since about the age of 3, when I was installing software and doing other neat things. I started designing websites in grade 5 and continuing from there. Recently, I was involved with the Huawei Seeds for the Future program, which involved me having to go to China for 2 weeks so I could see kind of the tech industry there. But yeah, I was born in Saskatoon. Of course, lived in the Riversdale area all my life. And there's a lot of stuff happening in the Riversdale area all the time, 20th Street area, so it's always an enjoyable experience.
So it's been kind of a groundswell of activity for that computer industry, if you will, and the engineering side. So you're designing things. Talk a little bit about the application process that you went to because there was only 20 of you that were selected. Is that right?
Yes, the Huawei Seeds for the Future program involved Huawei, which is the third largest cell phone and telecommunications manufacturer in the world, bringing 20 computer engineering students from computer engineering, electrical engineering, engineering and physics, and a few computer science students from across Canada to China for 2 weeks to basically explore delve themselves into Chinese culture and language, and then to explore the technological industry that Huawei has in China.
So when you're looking at something like that, that's offered to you as an engineering student, or how do you find out about that in the first place?
I found about it through the university. I found about it last year, actually, but I applied this year. It's supposedly open for third-year, or people who have just finished third year, but the range is pretty wide, actually. By the time they actually scrutinize the applications, the third year is the guide, but there's quite a bit of variance. The application process involved me having to write an essay in which I professed my interest in China, or going to China, and also my interest in the telecommunications industry of China. And then it was sent to Huawei, and then Huawei kind of picked that along with a resume and a list of your grades. And then they would report back to universities saying who they thought were good, and the universities would then select a very short list and send that back to Huawei, and Huawei would make the final selection from there.
So it is a little bit of I'm going to say it, a bit of a select group of talented people that would be chosen to go. Who were some of the others that you went with, and what other cities or universities were they from? Do you recall?
Yeah, the majority of people came from Ontario and Quebec. I believe about 15 people of the 20 people were from central Canada. There were 2 people selected from the University of Saskatchewan, and 3 people from the University of 2 people from the University of British Columbia, and 1 from Simon Fraser, I believe. It might be the other way around, but 3 people from BC anyway.
Mm-hmm. And when you went it's Shanghai, Beijing?
Yeah, it was a week in Beijing and then a week in Shenzhen.
Okay. What was that like for you?
Beijing, it was very warm, a bit rainy. It wasn't as smoggy as a lot of people profess. It was only about 1 day in which the smog was actually very noticeable. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was quite enjoyable. We saw the Great Wall, and we walked along the Great Wall, with much difficulty, but I made it to the top of the tourist portion of the Great Wall. So yeah, that was fun. And we also saw Tiananmen Square, which is a very popular place there. They have the government has all their buildings around there in Beijing. Mm-hmm. And we saw the Forbidden City, which is past Tiananmen Square and is a former palace, I believe, of one of the emperors. and we saw the Temple of Heaven, which is kind of part of the Forbidden City, but also not. And it also has to do with one of the emperors there. And we spent 5 days doing culture and language classes, which meant that we got to learn some rudimentary Mandarin, and we got to delve into some Chinese calligraphy and some Chinese painting. And that was what we did in Beijing. And then in Shenzhen, they don't have much tourist stuff in the way of Shenzhen. Shenzhen is a very new city. It's only about 30 years old. It first arrived on the map in 1979, and it's very, very big, much larger than Toronto, millions of people in it. It's a very technological city as well. And interestingly enough, as we learned there, there's a lot of women in that city too. The ratio of men to women is actually 1 to 7. So yeah, there's a lot of women there doing tech stuff and other jobs. And the largest attraction they have in Shenzhen really is basically the attractions of other places around China. And by that I mean their biggest attraction is kind of a theme park just about China, where you can go see miniatures of the Great Wall and miniatures of Tiananmen Square and things like that. And they also have many markets in Shenzhen just selling technological stuff. So you can go there and buy computers, or you can buy CPUs, or you can go buy transistors and resistors, and everything really in between.
So some of the manufacturing is happening there as well, and you're part and parcel of seeing how some of that is being developed and manufactured?
Yes, especially with networking. That's kind of what we were doing at Huawei. We got and toured some of the Huawei labs there. We saw this kind of stuff that they're working on. Basically lots of things related to Internet of Things and 5G, which is the coming soon. It's supposed to be rolling out by 2020 or so. They should have the standard done by 2020, which is the kind of the next generation of telecommunications technology, and will allow for things such as greater versatility for driverless cars and for Internet of Things. And they hope that it'll allow you to download a 4K movie in basically a second, is what they're hoping for this kind of technology.
That's a bit over my head, I'm going to have to admit. So you're saying that some of the technologies that we're seeing are very real, and they're on the cusp of becoming very commonplace then, is
Yeah,
that?
what Huawei is working on and what we were kind of shown is how they're trying to make a very fast wireless for cell phones. So you can get very fast data connection and very fast internet for cell phones and for other things that use the internet.
So you're telling me I have to upgrade my phone again? Is that it's coming?
Yeah. You're going to have to. I guess so will I. But
you just mentioned the driverless cars. Is that something that you see as within 5 to 10 years, or further out than that, based on what you've been exposed to here?
Probably further out than that. I still think there's quite a few societal issues with driverless cars, at least perceptions in society. But they're still going to exist, but whether they're going to be ubiquitous, I really don't think they're going to be ubiquitous. But basically what the faster internet will allow driverless cars to do, and this is partially why they were trying to do the faster internet as well, is with current internet speeds, you can stop a car in, I think, around a second, or have a second of reaction time, which they say is too much for reaction time. So then if you have somebody coming like really, really quickly, and then there's a chance of a collision with the reaction time.
So you're looking for faster speeds and
faster reaction times for vehicles, which will be possible under what they're trying to do.
Can you touch on how that speed is being driven? How are they making things faster like that?
How are they making things faster? That's I'm not entirely sure, honestly. I guess that's proprietary to Huawei.
See how that plays out in the coming months and years ahead. Yes. But it's sounding like more the telecommunications end, if we're talking about phones, and you mentioned programming and some of the software design. Are you looking at ways to get that information faster into our handheld devices? And
yes, that's what they would be doing with the faster internet, and you have faster programs and especially with the programs involved with the internet, you'll get faster responses to things. So if you send a message, it goes faster to its recipient, and etc.
And that's the work that you're learning here at the University of Saskatchewan?
Well, that's the work that we learned at Huawei.
Right.
Was the kind of things there. At the University of Saskatchewan, we more work with microcontrollers and software design-based things. So that's coding. Things we do a bit of app development as well, and a bit of driver development. So that'd be for designing how a printer would work or things like that.
Your takeaway from the Chinese travel and working with Huawei, and I guess what I'm looking for is what was your biggest interest that led you to going there? What was it that captured your imagination about traveling?
The atmosphere of China was a big thing. I've been to China a few times before this trip, and it's always such a neat place. It's really a blending of the old society. It's the world's longest running history, and as well as all the new technological innovations that they make. So it's a really neat blend of the cultures and it's a neat atmosphere. And also just the fact that China is doing so much with the tech field, like as I say, with the whole 5G technology, as well as their rockets and their supercomputers and the other things that they design. It's really neat.
When you see what you've seen, do you find that there's a level of excitement and that's drawing you to become more passionate about the computer engineering field and want to learn more based on what you've just experienced?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd say that. It's a whole world of technological things and advancements that are possible. So, and they're being worked on right now. So I could be part of that.
I can honestly say that we're really proud of you for the work you've done to be one of 20 chosen from across Canada right here in Saskatoon in the U of S. So I want to thank you for making time and joining us today and sharing your experience with us.
Oh, thank you, Randy.
Okay,
All right, have a good day.
we'll be right back.